8.1 The Positioning in the Cambridge History of China Volume of the Yuan Dynasty 1. 剑桥中国史原始卷的定位 The Cambridge History of China Volume of the Yuan Dynasty clearly points out the Yuan dynasty was not a rupture period in Chinese history, but a keynote of Eurasian cultural integration and Chinese political transformation. Its greatest historical significance lies in two aspects. On the one hand, it broke the millennium-old cultural and economic seclusion of the Central Plains dynasties, loosened the traditional shackles of Confucianism as the sole orthodoxy and emphasizing agriculture over commerce, and injected new commercial and maritime genes into Chinese civilization. On the other hand, it introduced the grassland master-servant political tradition into the Central Plains, established the political framework of absolute monarchy with imperial power as the core, and laid the foundation for the ultimate form of Chinese feudal autocracy in the Ming and Qing dynasties. The book emphasizes, in particular, the Mongol peace provided an unprecedented exchange platform for the Eurasian continent. The intermediary role of the Semu people, the hub value of the Jamchi system, and the unbiased and inclusive cultural policy jointly promoted the material and cultural exchange between the East and the West. Expanded the connotation and extension of Chinese civilization. However, the political system of the Yuan dynasty, which was rooted in the grassland master-servant tradition, was a kind of regressive transformation for the Central Plains bureaucratic politics. It took the personal attachment relationship as the core of political operation, and dissolved the rational spirit and institutional constraints of the Central Plains bureaucratic system, making the imperial power lose its check and balance and move towards extreme autocracy. 8.2 John K. Fairbanks' revision of the impact response perspective 2. 费正清的冲击回应视角修正 John K. Fairbanks' early impact response. Theory once framed China's modernization as a passive reaction to Western colonial expansion, positing that Chinese civilization's inherent conservatism left it unable to initiate internal transformation, only external Western impact could break its stagnant state. However, in his later work China, A History in Brief, Fairbanks revised this core viewpoint after in-depth research on the Yuan dynasty's cultural fusion and political transformation, and he highly affirmed the internal initiative of Chinese civilization's evolution shaped by the Mongol peace. Fairbanks pointed out that the Mongol rule of China was a pivotal internal impact in Chinese history, far earlier than Western modern impact, and it had already promoted a profound transformation of Chinese civilization's ethos and political structure. The Eurasian exchanges under the Mongol peace were China's first active attempt to integrate into the world system. ITS breakthrough of the Central Plains' traditional agricultural civilization and the injection of commercial and maritime thinking were not passive responses to external forces, but the result of internal multicultural integration. The political autocracy shaped by the master-servant tradition was also a self-adjustment of Chinese feudal politics, which made the imperial power system more mature and centralized. He further argued that the dual legacy of the Mongol peace, cultural openness and political autocracy, became the core context for China's response to Western impact in modern times. The commercial and maritime thinking injected in the Yuan dynasty endowed Chinese civilization with the inherent motivation to accept foreign advanced technologies and ideas, which laid the foundation for the Westernization movement and other modern reform attempts, while the absolute monarchy inherited and strengthened by the Ming and Qing dynasties became the biggest institutional obstacle to China's modernization, leading to the tortuous process China's modern transformation. Fairbanks' revision of the impact response theory fully recognized the historical value of the Mongol peace in shaping Chinese civilization and also placed the study of Chinese history in a broader Eurasian world historical perspective, breaking the narrow framework of Sino-Western binary opposition. 8.3 The academic views of Chinese scholars. Zhang Fan and Chen Yuan on the dual nature of the Yuan dynasty. 3. 中国学者的学术视角，张帆与陈元论元代的双重性 Chinese historians represented Why Zhang Fan and Chen Yuan have also formed a consistent academic judgment on the dual nature of the Yuan dynasty's influence on Chinese civilization through textual research on Yuan historical materials and systematic analysis of political and cultural systems. Zhang Fan, in a study of the political system of the Yuan dynasty, clarified the core connotation of the Yuan dynasty's political transformation from the perspective of institutional history. He pointed out that the Yuan dynasty's greatest political contribution was not the simple inheritance of the Central Plains bureaucratic system, but the construction of a unified multi-ethnic country's political framework with the Mongol grassland system as the core and the integration of various ethnic systems. This framework broke the geographical and ethnic barriers of the previous feudal dynasties and laid the institutional foundation for the unification of the Ming and Qing dynasties and the formation of the Chinese nation's community. At the same time, he also clearly pointed out the limitations of the Yuan dynasty's political system. The master-servant political tradition of the grassland culture has caused the alienation of the Central Plains bureaucratic system. The loss of the scholar official's independent personality and the lack of institutional checks and balances on imperial power have made the autocratic monarchy move towards an irreversible extreme, and this political gene has been inherited by the Ming and Qing dynasties, becoming a heavy shackle on the development of Chinese traditional politics. Chen Yuan, in the Sinicization of Western regions' peoples in the Yuan dynasty, focused on the cultural dimension and revealed the two-way fusion nature of the Yuan dynasty's cultural integration. Through detailed textual research on the Sinicization process of Semu peoples such as Muslims, Persians, and Uyghurs, he pointed out that the cultural integration in the Yuan dynasty was not a one-way Hanization of ethnic minorities, nor a one-way grassland cultural assimilation of the Central Plains, but a mutual infiltration and mutual shaping of multiple cultures. The Semu people's absorption of Central Plains Confucian culture, literature, and art enriched the connotation of Chinese civilization, while the introduction of Western regions' science and technology, commercial thinking and religious beliefs broke the closeness of the Central Plains culture and expanded the cultural boundaries of Chinese civilization. 陈元强调说, the Yuan dynasty's culture is a genuine Eurasian integrated culture, which takes Central Plains culture as the core and integrates the essence of various ethnic cultures in the Eurasian continent. This cultural inclusiveness is the most precious legacy left by the Yuan dynasty to Chinese civilization. 9. Conclusion. The dual legacy of the Mongol peace and the historical logic of Chinese civilization's evolution. 9. 结语蒙古和平的双重遗产与华夏文明演进的历史逻辑 From the Battle of Talas in 751 AD to the prosperity of Zheng Jilong's maritime empire in the 16th century, the 900年的历史进程 centered on the Mongol peace and the Yuan dynasty witnessed the comprehensive evolution of Chinese civilization from culture to politics, from economy to ethos. The Mongol peace as the core carrier of pre-modern world integration version Epoitling pushed Eurasian civilization integration to an unprecedented height, and left a profound dual legacy for Chinese civilization. On the one hand, it was the open and inclusive cultural heritage formed by the two-way fusion of pastoral, agricultural, and commercial civilizations. On the other hand, it was the autocratic and centralized political heritage shaped by the grassland master-servant political tradition. These two legacies are interdependent and contradictory, and together constitute the core thread of the development of Chinese civilization in the Ming and Qing dynasties, and even affect the historical process of China's modern transformation. The cultural heritage of the Mongol peace broke the millennium-old closeness of the Central Plains agricultural civilization. The Semu people, as cultural ferrymen, promoted the Sino-Arab scientific and technological fusion, the secularization of elite culture, and the breakthrough of the emphasizing agriculture and suppressing commerce tradition, injecting commercial and maritime thinking into Chinese civilization and reshaping the open, inclusive gene, making the maritime and commercial ethos an important part of Chinese civilization, and laying the foundation for Chinese civilization's acceptance of foreign advanced civilizations in modern times.